welcome to Broadway Bound, the podcast all about how to get started in theater as an actor and kind of how to train and everything. Today's episode is going to be exactly that. It's going to be how to get started in theater, how to find companies to do shows with, how to start training, what to train in, stuff like that. So just a good overview about everything. So I'm holding the microphone today because in last episode, the audio was a little quiet, and I'm sorry about that, but hopefully it should be better today. So, let's get right into it. So first, how do you get involved? The main ways to get involved is obviously the easiest way is through your school if you're still in high school. See if your school has a choir or a drama class, or if they do shows, any of that stuff. If you're not sure if you're going to be comfortable on stage yet, backstage crew is always a great way to get acquainted with theater without, the stress of going on stage. And stage fright is definitely a topic that I'd like to cover in a different episode, but in this one, we're not going to be talking about that. But any way to get involved. Maybe you audition for the show and you don't get in. Stage crew is always a great option. Just asking if you can help with anything. Always great. That's how I started to get involved in theater. I did my middle school's musical theater program, and I realized that not all schools have that, but if your school does have that, it's a great resource, especially since most schools cast pretty much everyone in their shows who auditions, so it's a great way to start. As far as outside theater groups, maybe your school doesn't have a choir or a theater group. See if different places around you have theater groups. If you go to church, sometimes church groups will have plays or choirs. That's a great opportunity. That's also, low cost. But you can also do community and youth theater. Just Google community theater companies near me. I know I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but the difference between community and youth theater is that community theater is unpaid theater that everyone is open to audition for of all ages, and youth theater is unpaid theater for usually just people under 18. Sometimes it can go up to 20, depending on the company. But yeah, those are also a great way to get started. Usually there is a production fee for those. It usually is around $250 to $400 depending on the show. Most of them average around $350 in my area. That's probably about the same as what it's going to be in most places. That's why I was suggesting school programs as a great first option because, it's a lot of money to invest, and usually you can't get that money back if you decide that, you need to quit the show for one reason or another. I strongly do not recommend quitting a show unless you absolutely have to, because it affects your ability of getting casted later. If they see that you quit their show last time, they're not gonna want to cast you again because they're gonna be like, oh, this person will just quit again. We don't want that to happen. So be careful of that. Make sure you have a really good reason if you're gonna quit a show. But I was talking about just if you realize that it's not for you, good to start small. I would strongly, if you have the means to do community and youth theater, I would strongly recommend that over school theater. There tends to be a lot of drama when it comes to casting and stuff in school theater. There's a lot of biases and, people who don't understand how it's supposed to work, and casting is not personal. I'll definitely talk about this more in a different episode, but if you don't get cast in the show, it's not because you're not talented, it's because you're not right for that show. It could be for many reasons. One, it could be maybe you quit a show before and they don't want you to quit again. Maybe you had you did a previous show and you you just were sick a lot of days, and they just, even though, you were sick and you couldn't do anything about it, they're like, oh, sometimes, it's usually not personal. Or sometimes it could be just, because they have costumes and they need you to fit into them, and maybe you're too big, or maybe you just don't work well with the other actors involved, anything like that. But basically what I'm trying to say is there are so many reasons that you may not be cast in something, and it's not personal at all, and it's important to know that. And in high school theater, a lot of people don't know that, and there's a lot of drama, and the drama can continue after the show is cast and then through the performances, and it just kind of leaves an uncomfortable aura around the place. So definitely something to keep in mind. I haven't been cast in things before that I thought I was gonna get, and you just have to know that it's not personal and just keep moving on. And if you do end up doing theater as a career, it's really important to have that mindset too, because you're gonna get a lot more rejections from professional theater, because a lot of people are talented. In community theater, there is a possibility that you wouldn't get cast because you're not talented. But later, really, everyone there is talented, so they have to cut people for one reason or another. Maybe you're just not what the director thinks of for the role. Maybe you're taking it in a different direction than they do. There's a million reasons why you can't get cast in something. I'm talking about this for too long, so let's move on. Another way to, get involved in community and youth theater groups. I hop around different groups because I don't want to get too comfortable into a group, because you can't do that in the real world. But if you're just looking to do theater for fun and you're not looking to do it later, then find a theater company that you really like and stay there. And there are usually a lot of people who are loyal to one of the theater companies that will do all of their shows and won't really go anywhere else. So again, if you're just doing it for fun, that's great. If you're not doing it for fun, I would recommend trying out as many theater companies as possible, just to get your name around more, and what was I gonna say? Just kind of get experience with different audition experiences. You don't want to get too comfortable anywhere, because in the real world, you're not going to be comfortable. You're never auditioning for companies. You can't really keep auditioning for one company. It's just not feasible. Another way to get involved in theater is summer camps. There are tons of summer camps for under 18 that do little mini week productions, or they'll do an intensive where you'll train for a week. There's so many different ones. Google summer camps, theater summer camps. I know there's so many in San Diego. That's another great way to get involved in theater without doing a full show. And you don't have to worry about auditioning or anything. A lot of them will have audition prep, which is really helpful. But summer camps are a great way to get started and build your confidence. So after you've gotten involved, let's talk about lessons. So maybe you've been doing theater for a little bit and you're like, wow, I really like this. I really want to get better at this. There are tons of things that you have to do. So, theater is very complicated. It depends. If you want to just do plays, then acting lessons are great, but we're talking about musical theater today. There's so many different aspects of musical theater. As far as acting lessons, for a lot of acting lessons that you will find, even if they're advertised as theater, acting lessons are also helpful for film acting too, if you're interested in that. And there are tons of acting classes in my area. Look around at different theater companies. They may have acting classes. There may be an acting coach in your area that does private lessons. I personally prefer group acting lessons over private lessons because I think it's helpful to watch other people and, their process. For me personally, that's how I learn best, but maybe you'll learn best in, a more private environment where there's not a million people staring at you. I can totally understand that too. There are tons of different types of acting classes. There's so many. But as well as, acting technique classes, they kind of talk about character development and why you would say each of the lines, because motivation is very important in acting. You're not just saying what sounds right, you're becoming the character and thinking, why would they say this and what would create that tone of that line. It's very complicated, and it takes a while to learn. But I think that a lot of people think that acting is easy on the outside because you're watching good acting and you don't see them as an actor, you see them as that character. So it makes it look like, acting's easy. You just, read the lines on the page and, say whatever feels right. But it's so much more complicated than that, and it's very important to take acting lessons. If you can't afford acting lessons, there are definitely companies that will give scholarships as well as shows. I didn't mention that. There are lots of companies that have programs that, if you cannot pay, that can help you do that and loan you money. There's tons of that. So look around, ask if any of the theater companies have a program like that. They may. Acting classes too. So but if you maybe don't want to do that, there are some great online courses you can look up. I know like Skillshare has a bunch of acting courses, e-courses on there. There's also some other ones. Trying to remember what it's called. There's this one website where there's a bunch of e-courses from Broadway actors. If I can find it, I will leave it in the description. But we'll see. So, there's that. And, there's also, YouTube courses about the basics of acting. And you can watch interviews from actors, too. That's a great way to learn about it. Obviously, my opinion, the best way is to go to a class. But if you can't, a great way to get started is online courses. Okay. Seems great. So let's move on to voice lessons or singing lessons. So as I mentioned before, choir was really helpful to me. I don't do choir anymore because I don't have time, but I do really love choir, and it was really helpful for me in theater. It does use a different tone of voice, if that makes sense. It's just a different placement. So if you get too used to choir, may not be the best for contemporary musical theater, meaning like more modern musical theater. It might not be bad if you like doing more classical musical theater, like Oklahoma or, stuff like that. Sound of Music, stuff like that. But like if you want to do more contemporary stuff like, I don't know, Hamilton. To be honest, there's not a lot of singing. Well, actually there is. I take that back. Sorry. Let's think of another good one. Dear Evan Hansen. That kind of stuff. Sorry, my nose is running. But yeah. So choir was really helpful to me because I learned how to read music. I'm not perfect at sight reading, but I'm definitely okay. And it really helped me in that. I've definitely noticed that since I stopped taking choir, my sight reading has kind of gone down a little bit. But it's very helpful. And also learning harmonies, very helpful for that, because when you get into a rehearsal room, they kind of expect you to know how to do it in most cases. And being able to do that from choir experience was really helpful. And and just understanding music. Sorry, my nose is really running. It's really good. I definitely recommend even just taking a little bit of choir if you can, or joining a choir for just a little bit. Definitely helpful. Another way, again, if you can't afford, I skipped over a few things. Voice lessons, private voice lessons. Make sure that if you are going into if you want voice lessons for theater specifically, to get a theater specific voice coach. Most vocal coaches, just specialize in more kind of pop singing, which is great and a good skill to have, but in the end, theater, like singing in theater, is a lot more complicated than pop singing, because you got to, especially if you want to learn how to belt, and you got to develop your mix. It's very complicated, so I would recommend going to a theater-specific voice coach. Now, finding a voice coach is kind of like dating. You gotta find the one that's right for you. There are some teachers that people may be like, oh my god, this person is amazing, they changed my life. And then you go to them and you're like, yeah, I guess it's changing my life, but I just don't really like working with this person. And I've had that before, and you just have to realize, okay, it's not working out. We got to find someone new. And it may take you a while to find that one teacher that you like. My voice teacher that I was going to for years, I recently stopped going to her about 2 years ago. Her name is Jessica Allen, and she's great. She really helped me since, I don't know, I was 10 or something. And she was really great in helping me just, I don't know. I just improved so much when I was under her. I did end up just outgrowing her, and I decided I wanted to go into theater, so I wanted to choose a more theater-specific voice teacher, but, I really found the right person for me at that time. And so find someone like that. Voice lessons should be fun. They shouldn't be stressful. You should be motivated to go to them. If they're stressful, then you probably should find someone else that you're more comfortable with, because you'll grow so much more when you're more comfortable with the person. Now if you find, what was I gonna say? Sorry, let me look at my notes here. Oh yeah, so another great resource if you can't take voice lessons, or you just want a little bit, look up on YouTube. There's a lot of voice teacher reacts stuff that's on YouTube that's really popular right now. And there's also videos of a bunch of voice lessons. Learn from those, watch those. Even that's helpful to me, even though I have a voice teacher, is looking at those videos and learning new things, a different perspective on how you can, do things with your voice. I can't think of the right word for that, but you know what I mean. So that's a great resource as well. That's free. Even if you have a voice teacher, I'd recommend doing that, just to get a different opinion on how to do things. So yeah, that's it with voice lessons. Now we move on to dance. I personally love dance. Maybe dance isn't for you. Luckily, not all musicals have a lot of dancing in them, especially contemporary musicals. There are lots of shows out there that don't require you to dance. So if you have 2 left feet, don't worry about that in theater. But if you are interested in dance, I strongly recommend pursuing it, because I was interested in dance, and after taking lessons for a while, I really realized how much I love dance, and I didn't realize how much I liked it before, because I started out singing before I did theater, and then once I got into dance, I realized, wow, I really like dance, and so now it's opened up a lot more opportunities to me. I've just kind of fallen in love with it, and I love dancey shows. They're my favorite, and they're so challenging and fun, and I really want to be in a chorus line someday. If you don't know what a chorus line is, it's a musical about a bunch of dancers auditioning for a show, and it's just famous for its challenging choreography, and it's just a great show. I strongly recommend it if you're going into theater, just to know about it, especially if you love dance and you're going into theater. I strongly recommend listening to it or looking it up. I'm not sure if there's a bootleg or not. There probably is. There's a bootleg of some production. If you don't know what a bootleg is, it's an illegal recording of a show. But there's probably one out there. I'm sure, because the chorus line's been around forever. There's probably a video of one production somewhere. I should have said that. If, now, for legal reasons, this is a joke, but a great resource to learn more about theater is watching bootlegs on YouTube. Actually, I'm going to call them slime tutorials. Just Google Broadway slime tutorials and you'll see what I mean. But Broadway slime tutorials are a great resource for theater. Yeah. There's also lots of legal recordings too. If you go on like Broadway HD, I know, obviously Hamilton on Disney Plus, or Diana just came out on Netflix. I haven't seen that yet. Or Come From Away on Apple TV. I'm so glad that pro shots are becoming more normal, so that theater's more accessible to everyone. But great resource to get started. Just watch musicals. Or listen to them too. I personally prefer to watch them, because when I listen to them, I don't really know what's going on. But yeah. So, anyway, as far as dance, first look at school programs. I was on my school's dance team for a year, and I'm still on it, and unfortunately I have to leave soon because I don't have enough room in my schedule at school. But the dance team has truly changed my life. It's really helped me learn how to pick up choreography more. It's acquainted me with a lot more different styles of dance, because, especially in contemporary musical theater, there's not one set genre, really. The movements, it's hard to explain, but it's really important to know a bunch of different styles of dance, because there's, as I said, there's no one true style in theater anymore. It's really interesting. Like, if you'll go to something like a chorus line, that's more like classic theater, like show things. I'm trying to think of another one. I don't know, like Anything Goes, kind of more traditional, showy dances. But now, it's so different. Let's see. What else? Okay, so here are some of, if you're going to take dance from a dance studio, or some acting schools will have dance classes. I would highly recommend first if they have a musical theater class, take it, because it'll really help you with picking up choreography, which means like learning choreography. Learning choreography is the one thing that I kind of still struggle with, and it's really important to learn how to learn choreography, because in auditions you really need to be able to pick up the choreography really fast, because if you're confident in a dance, you can act it more, and the acting is really what they want to see. If you're not confident, it can be hard to act, in my opinion, and can kind of cost you an audition. So learning how to pick up choreography fast is a great skill. That's what I love on my dance team. So if you have a dance team, I strongly recommend trying it out. But yeah, so I strongly recommend you take musical theater, and jazz is a great one. A jazz class is going to be more technique, which is a good foundation for, all other aspects of dance. I also recommend ballet. I personally love ballet because I love kind of the way that you stretch through all of your muscles, and it really helps me be more in tune with my body when I'm dancing. So I strongly recommend ballet, but ballet can be, if you don't have the right teacher, or some people just don't like it, it's not for them, it's too proper and harsh and complicated, and I totally understand that. So if ballet is not for you, jazz, definitely, at least one of the two you should be doing. And tap is great. I feel like it's not used in theater as much as it used to be, but I think tap is really fun, and it helps you with rhythm, yeah, it's just a good thing to learn, but it's not needed in dance if you don't want to, or if it's tricky for you. You really don't need it, but it's fun to have and useful for a lot of community theater productions. And then, as I talked about earlier, other classes. I know that it's hard in a schedule to do other classes. Right now, I'm taking ballet, tap, and theater, and musical theater. Those are the 3 classes that I'm taking right now. If you can only take 2, I'd recommend taking ballet and musical theater, or jazz in musical theater. If you don't like ballet, I'd recommend doing that. But yeah, if you have time magically for other classes, or you just really like dance, or maybe you have like some dance studios will let you do like makeup classes if you miss one. Try out a bunch of different styles if you can, because as I said, dance in theater is so diverse, and you pulls from a bunch of different genres. Hip hop is a fun one. It kind of helps you flow through your body more. I don't know how to describe that, but I remember I took a hip hop class as a makeup once, and we did a lot of like things to kind of just loosen up, and I thought it was really helpful and cool. So if you're interested in hip hop, that's great. Contemporary is also great. There's a lot of acting in contemporary, so that's fun, and you kind of get to throw yourself, like you get to put a lot of energy into your dance, and I think that's really fun. And definitely a lot of theater contemporary theater uses contemporary dance in aspects of it. So yeah, I've personally never taken a contemporary class, but I have done some contemporary routines with my dance team, and it's been really fun. And then the last thing about how to get involved in this theater is just, do as many shows as you can, do as many classes as you can. You'll get better with experience. Something may be frustrating, but the more you do it, the more you'll get better about it. That's the main thing with stage fright too. It can be really scary at first, but the more you do it, the less scary it'll get. And yeah, I think that's my main thing of advice, is just keep yourself involved, keep going even if it's hard, because the more you do it, the better you'll get. And yeah. So yeah, I think that's it. I think I'm going to end this episode here. I hope you really enjoyed this, all about how to get involved in theater. I hope this was helpful to you, and make sure to stay tuned for the next episode. I can't wait to see you there, and have a nice rest of your day. Bye!